Hi STC, it's Mr. Baumgarten here with a video tutorial using Shapr to create a keychain. This is one of the exercises that we asked you to do as part of developing your Shapr skills. So there's a few techniques that I'm going to show you that will be useful to use when you're creating your project for us that aren't in the initial basics tutorial that Shapr walks you through. So please make sure you walk through this one, and hopefully by the end of it, you'll have the right combination of skills and techniques and knowing the tools of Shapr to be able to do your project. So let's start creating a keychain. So I'm going to go to Shapr and create a new project, come up to the top. And this is where I end up with a completely blank canvas, which can be a little overwhelming, but we will make it work for us. So a couple of things that I like to do when I first come in to Shapr is I'm going to make the items go away so that it doesn't take up all that side. And the same thing happens here with the history. You can click the little clock to make that go away. Now we need to start with a 2D shape that we draw and then add depth to it to turn it into 3D. And then we can start subtracting and adding depth to different parts of it as we want. So I need to start by creating a 2D shape. And to do that, I'm going to want to be facing a 2D direction. So I can grab my little orientation icon here and click it and drag. So if I want to be facing side on, I can move it so that I'm facing the front, right? And then you can just kind of click on that surface and Shapr will orientate everything to be facing the front. If I want to move this center point around, maybe down to the bottom here, I can use the middle button on my mouse, click it and drag and let go, and that will allow me to move that around. Alternatively, if I want to draw from the top facing down, maybe I want to draw the bottom of something and then build up, I can orientate this to top. So click on top and then do the same thing. Right. Once I've got the orientation that I want, the other thing I'm going to want is make sure that the size of the grids are what I'm wanting to draw on. So at the moment, you can see here, mine has gone to 1 millimeter. So that means every square here will print out to be 1 millimeter. And so then the darker lines are every 10. So that means this larger grid of darker lines will be 1 cm or 1 centimeter. So that's probably about the right size that I want. If yours is wrong, so say you've got a really big number here, 10 millimeters or 1 cm, or maybe it's the extreme going the other way, just zoom in and out using the scroll wheel on your mouse. I recommend getting to about 1 mil. That seems to, I seem to like that. And then you can even click on this and tell it to lock the grid size. Right, so it'll always be 1 mil. No matter how much I zoom in or zoom out, it will stay as 1 mil. I find that is quite useful. And then the other thing is go into the magnet tool and turn on snap to grid. So that means when I'm drawing something, it will default to picking, one of those grid lines. So it means that when I'm drawing a shape, I know that it's going to be nice, even 1 millimeter size lengths that I'm working in. So there's just a few little tips that will make your experience easier. So the first thing I'm going to do is draw a shape, which I can then turn into 3D. So if I come to the left and hit my sketch menu, these are all the different sketch tools that I have available to me. There's lines, arcs, splines, rectangles, circles, and then there's more under the more icon. So I'm going to start by drawing a rectangle. It's kind of the simplest shape. And if I start at my center point, click, click, drag, right? So I'm holding my left mouse button out. And let's go for about 50 or 5 cm by 2 cm, right, and let go. Once I am happy with the shape that I've got, I exit sketching mode, and then I have my overall shape. And if I use my right mouse button, click, hold, and move my mouse around, I can see what this shape looks like in the 3D world. And again, I can use the center button on my mouse to move around as well. All right, so once I've kind of got this shape, if I want to extrude it, which is what the term is for adding depth to it, click and then grab the arrow and I can pull it up. right? And I can even type a number in here to make it like a 5mm. And I've now got this 5mm rectangle, right? Which was 5 cm, 2 cm, and then half a cm of height. Right, what if I don't want a rectangle? What if I want a more fancy shape? So I'm just going to undo creating that and click top again just to get my orientation correct, and come back into Sketch. This time I'm going to use the line tool, right? And I can create, so click, let go, come up to 2 cm, click again, right? And so I can create some kind of sophisticated shape of whatever I want. And basically, once I close the shape, right, and so I don't need any more lines, so I can hit the escape key now. Right, I've now got a shape that is fully joined up. As long as it's fully joined, once I exit sketching, I will get that blue highlight, which means I can then click it and turn it into a 3D shape. So I've used the line tool. Maybe let's just undo that and go back to the shape itself. All right, so I'll go back into sketch mode, and come back to the top. Right, and so now it'll let me edit it. Maybe I want to use the arc tool as well, and let's put some curved surfaces on this. So instead of this kind of violent shape happening here, maybe I'll make from this point here to this one here kind of be a shape that's kind of curved like that. So I'm just going to click this endpoint, and you can see it's drawing an arc. But it doesn't matter if the curve is not what I want yet. At the moment, I'm just choosing the start point and the end point to the arc, and then I can adjust the shape of the curve. So I'm going to come down to this dot point and click. And now, as I move my mouse around, it's going to let me adjust the curve however I want. So I'm going to pull the curve out to something like that. Click. Right, and so on the third click, the arc is now locked into place. Right, but now the problem is if I exit sketching, I've kind of got these three different shapes. I mean, if that's what I want, like I can extrude those individually, but it's probably not what I'm aiming for. So let's go back to this and back into sketch mode, and I'll go back to the top view. How can I maybe clean up and get rid of some of these extra lines, right? Because I want this internal part, I don't want this little wedge here to be treated separately. That's where I can come over to the side and grab my trim tool. And now I just click on any lines I want to delete. You can see here it highlights it in orange. Delete that line, delete these lines here. All right, there is my weird and wonderful shape. So now I will extrude it, and I'll keep it this time. So I'm going to bring it up, 6 mil, that sounds good. Right, next thing is, if we look back at the sample keychains, they kind of had this border on the edge, and then it went inside, kind of down a bit, and then it had the letters protruding from the top, protruding back out again. So how can I replicate that kind of effect, get some kind of border happening? If I click here, right, that entire surface goes blue, and it'll let me size adjust it. If I click here, that entire surface goes blue, and again, it will let me extrude from that. Sorry, where are we? It should let me extrude from it. Interesting. But anyway, that's not what I was wanting to do in any case. Oh, I think I understand why it's not doing that. But anyway, if between these blue surfaces, you notice as I move the mouse across, right? Okay, so here, this is kind of a lighter shade of grey because that's what I'm hovering over. Here, this is a lighter shade of grey because that's what I'm hovering over. There's a little point between the two where neither of them have gone light grey. And that's where if I click, I'm actually selecting this line. And that line is what I'm wanting right now, because I want to change this edge. Actually, just while I'm here, the chamfer and filler edge, that it will let you apply like a wedge to the edge or a curved surface to the edge. So that can be quite nice. But what I'm actually wanting to do, come back. okay, is grab this, and I'm going to use the offset edge tool. Right, now you can see that it's selected a whole bunch of edges as orange. And what this is going to let me do is either come in from the detected edge that it's seen on that shape, right? Or if I just go, yeah, come back. If I did it the other way, if I grab this arrow, it'll start to come in a little bit from this shape here. So I'm going to come in, yeah, about 1.5 mil. All right, let go, hit my tick box. And what that's done is it's created another copy of the shape, but it has come in 1.5 mil to do it. And so I can now click on either this version of it and bring that up, leaving the other one where it was, or I can click on this version of it and pull that either up, or in this case, I'm going to pull it down about 2 mil. Right, and so now I've got created that recessed border edge look that we had there on our keychain. All right, and if I kind of move that around, we can kind of take a look and see what that looks like. All right, so how do I then add? How do I add my name? All right, so if we go back to the sketch tool and go to more, we have here text. Any font that is installed on your computer is available here. I will do a separate video that kind of shows you how to install fonts. So pick a font that you like, and yeah, we'll kind of take it from there. I'm trying to remember what's one of the ones I've installed recently. Mistral, what's that look like? Oh, that's a handwriting one. So anyway, I'll just quickly put in the B, but. All right, so you can go through, pick a font. That's boring. All right, we'll go with Showcard Gothic, shall we? Anyway, all right, so we can see the lettering that I've got there, so I'm just going to say continue. All right, so now it's not placed it right where I want, and if I move this around, it's actually placed it on the bottom, which is also not what I want, right? Because I want it to be on this surface here. So there's a couple of ways we can do it. We can move it out of the way and then put it back down, or I could have drawn it on that, made sure I was drawing it on that surface. So I might just quickly show you how to do that. All right, and to do that, I click the surface that I'm wanting to draw on, and then hit the space bar, and that makes sure that that is the active surface. All right, and so now when I type and I hit continue, if I move out of the way, we can see that that is where it has drawn it. All right, so you click on the surface that you want, hit the space bar, and it will do it. Now, if I had it in the wrong spot, I can grab these arrows and move it up and down. And I can even extrude it as a different shape and then bring it down and join it later on. But right now, I'll keep it in the right spot. So I'll just set that back to 0. All right, and that is on the right surface. So I'm going to keep that. And we can see here that I now have my Mr. B in the middle of the text. But the trouble is this B character, right, doesn't quite fit. So I'm going to move just that. So if I move that across that way, right, now it's going to fit inside my little keychain here. And so let's bring this up. I click it, let's bring it up. What was it? It was 1.5 mil that I had recessed earlier. So I'll make this match 1.5 mil, bring this one up 1.5 mil, and I'll bring this up 1.5 mil. All right, and so now, no, oh, that's right. I think it was 2 mil that I went down. Anyway, so I now have some lettering. on my keychain. All right, I need a hole for the actual chain to go through. So let's do that. If I exit this mode and kind of bring things across, I'm going to put a little hole here. So I'm going to click this surface to indicate this is where I'm wanting to draw. Hit the mouse, sorry, hit the space bar, right? And that makes that my active drawing surface. And if I grab a circle, let's zoom in using the scroll wheel and click. And now this is the radius, 4 millimeter, sorry, diameter 4 mil. Yeah, that's probably enough. All right, so click, exit my sketching, and I've now created a circle. And if I just pull sideways, yeah, that circle is at the right spot. All right, now, when I click on the circle, yeah, I can pull it up and it will extrude and make an outer edge. Or if I pull down, it'll create a depression through it. And if I pull down all the way through, right, past the size of my object, then I'll create a hole in my object. And so in this case, that's what I'm wanting because that's where the keychain needs to be able to go through. So I can deselect that and we can now see I have a hole in my keychain for that. Now, what else was on my list of things that I was going to show you? I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah, all right. So have a go at creating yourself a keychain and let's see what creative shapes you can come up with. But yeah, make sure you learn the techniques about locking to the grid, setting your units and grid size, and yeah, making sure you're drawing on the correct surface. That's the last thing I might do is actually just draw. If I draw something in the wrong surface, in the wrong place, how can I move it? So let's just do that. Right now, I have no idea what my active drawing place is. And so I'm going to grab a little rectangle and, let's kind of just loosely, let's draw it over here. Right, exit that. Where's that drawn? Okay, that's drawn it on the base. But maybe this is, if I extrude that up. Right, I actually decided, I need this rectangle. I need to join it onto my thing. How can I do that? Let's just rotate this around a bit. So what I need to do is I need to select the entire thing. So drag across the entire thing, or what I'm actually really wanting is to select the body, right? So when I'm selecting, if you hit the tab button, then that menu across the top says, hey, I'm interested in selecting the body. All right. Now I can either click the copy if I'm wanting to make more copies of it. All right. So now I've got two of them, or without clicking copy, I can now grab these arrows, pick it up, and move it to the correct location. Right, and you can see here, when it's connecting to the other shape or the other body, because you can see it's starting to kind of get swallowed up by it. All right, so just sit it in the right spot there and let go, and now it has, now it's formed in part of that. But what I should do is kind of more officially join the two together, then, because at the moment it's still a body that I could remove. Like if I highlighted this, I can actually remove it out from my thing. But if I want to join it together, all right, then I come across to the side here and I union it with that shape there and tick the box, and now it becomes formally like it's forever now part of that shape, right? So now if I try to just select bodies, it won't let me because the whole thing is one big body now, right? I can adjust it, right? But now it's been joined into the shape. Right, that'll do. All right, that's enough for that video. Hope that helps. Enjoy making your keychain. And this is Mr. Bombgun signing out.